Member for Windsor West.
I move that in the opinion of this House, the Ministry of Education should recognize the success of provincial and demonstration schools in supporting our most vulnerable students by reopening enrollment at Robart School for the Deaf, Amethyst Demonstration School, Centre Jules Leger Provincial and Demonstration Schools, Trillium Demonstration Schools, and Saganaska Demonstration School, and ensure that no provincial or demonstration schools will close as a result of current consultations.
Mrs. Gretson has moved private member notice of motion number 66. Pursuant to Standing Order 98, the member has 12 minutes for her presentation.
Thank you, Speaker. And before I begin the debate, I would like to point out that we do have ASL and LSQ sign language interpreters here for the visitors that are in the chamber today. We have many overflow rooms. We couldn't fit everybody in the chamber today, so we have people in many overflow rooms here at Queen's Park, and they are also here for the people at home who couldn't be with us today for this debate. And I'd like to start the debate talking about the purpose of provincial and demonstration schools. It seems as though perhaps some of the members on the government side don't truly understand what the purpose and the value of provincial and demonstration schools is. So with provincial schools are for students that are deaf or hard of hearing, blind or deaf-blind. And currently it is schools for the deaf and hard of hearing that are going through a consultation process, and it certainly looks like at the end of that process, which didn't appear to be really a truthful and meaningful process, it looks as though the whole purpose was to give parents the false hope that they were being listened to. It looks like the purpose of that consultation was to close the schools, to close some of them, consolidate them into maybe one or two schools, and force families that already travel a great distance to have their students in these specialized schools, to make them travel even farther. In fact, to make it even more difficult for students that need an ASL or an LSQ environment, make it even more difficult for them to attend these special schools. I think it's important for people, I'm sure everybody in the chamber here today understands the importance of provincial schools, but not everybody watching this at home may understand the importance of the schools. These are students who would not receive the services and the supports they need. They would not be immersed in an ASL or an LSQ environment in their home school in a district school board. So I'm talking about schools where the majority, if not all of the students, do not struggle with hearing. They have their full hearing, and the students that go to provincial schools it's vital that they are immersed in an ASL or an LSQ environment in order for them to thrive. I think it's also important to point out the purpose of demonstration schools, because there is a difference, and I know in the media there was some confusion. They were reporting that it was provincial demonstration schools, which demonstration schools are provincial schools, but there are two different kinds of schools. There's provincial schools for the deaf and hard of hearing, and then there are demonstration schools, and those are for students with severe learning disabilities. These are students that start off in a home school in a district school board, so they go to schools in their community. They struggle. They struggle not only to learn, they struggle to have their learning disability recognized. The current process, in order to have a student recognized as having a learning disability, not only having a learning disability, but then to recognize what that disability is cumbersome, it's lengthy, it can be costly for parents, and often at the end of that process in the district school boards, the parents are told that's not what your child is struggling with. We don't recognize that. And I'm going to use an example. I met with Decoding Dyslexia earlier this week, and I was told that parents are not allowed to use the term dyslexic. So if their child, if they've taken them to an independent assessment and it has been determined after a lengthy process that, in fact, the learning disability is dyslexia, they then return to the school board and say, we have an assessment. This is what the professionals are saying. This is what my child is struggling with, and this is what we need supports with, only to be told that dyslexia isn't a real thing. It doesn't exist. And that's a directive from the ministry. That's not a directive from the board. This is the school boards do the best that they can with the tools that they are given. They follow the guidelines and the rules set down from the ministry. And I think it's disgraceful that we have professionals that are identifying students with special needs and actually being able to put a name to it, to quantify it and say this is what your child is struggling with and these are the supports that can help them, only to have school boards who have their hands tied say, we don't recognize that. That's actually not a real thing. The ministry says that doesn't exist. And I think that's really shameful, and I think that's something that the Minister of Education and the government should work towards changing. Because these students, all students with learning disabilities, all students who are deaf or hard of hearing, they may have similar issues. Two students may be deaf or hard of hearing. Two students may have a learning disability. They may be dyslexic. But that doesn't mean they're the same. They're still individuals and they still have individual needs. And we need a government that recognizes that these students are individuals and that they need to be supported in a very special and very individualized way. With demonstration schools, as I had pointed out, the students start off in a home school and a district school board in their community. And if they're lucky, it's a school actually in their neighbourhood. It's not, they haven't been forced to leave their neighbourhood because of a school closure and get on a bus for an hour each way in order to attend a school. Hopefully it's a school right in their community. And once they've gone through this lengthy and very difficult process of being identified and being recognized, then parents start to undertake the process of application. And that's a very lengthy process, as it would be with the provincial schools. Very lengthy process. It's a very costly process. There's a lot of assessments that take place. Then they apply and they wait and they hope that they can get into these specialized schools. They hope that they'll be accepted into a demonstration school. And I have to point out the sacrifices that these families make, the parents, the siblings, and the students themselves, because as I pointed out, these are not community schools. These are specialized schools that are in different areas of the province that these families come a great distance from to attend. In demonstration schools, the students can travel for hours away from home, and they spend 5 days in the school, and then they return home on the weekends. Same applies for provincial schools. In demonstration schools, students will do 1 year. Once they've finally been accepted, they'll spend a year in the school. And every single student that I talked to today said that they are hopeful they get to return for a second year. And I think that speaks volumes to what goes on in our provincial and demonstration schools. These students look forward to going to school. That's not always the case for students that are struggling with learning disabilities or for those that are deaf or hard of hearing. Often they feel like they're being centered out. Students that are pulled out of classrooms for extra support, often not the support they really need, feel like they're being centered out because they're different than the other kids in the classes, in the classroom. And I think that when they, no, I know, in fact, I don't think I know, that when they move into a provincial school or they go to a demonstration school, they're amongst other students who have the same struggles, similar struggles, who understand who they are, accept them for who they are, and they all support each other and encourage each other. And the important piece about the demonstration schools is that after, hopefully, 2 years at a demonstration school, those students then return to their home school in their community where they thrive. And we've seen cuts to education, $430 million. The Minister of Education will say it's not a cut, but when you reduce spending of $430 million in education, that's a cut to education. Receiving the special education supports they need in the district school boards, to have them move on to a specialized school, learn what they need to do, what supports they need, and then return to a district school board and excel. They go on to do incredible things. They become doctors and lawyers and engineers. They go on to start their own corporations. Many of them become teachers. And I think that speaks volumes to the education workers within the provincial and demonstration schools, that the students that they are working with actually aspire to become the people that have helped them. And I think that's a really important piece. And when you strip them of the ability to participate in the types of environment that a provincial or a demonstration school provides for them, you're stripping them of not only their hope, you're stripping them of their ability to their opportunities and their ability to thrive, and often you're stripping them of their dreams. They want to go on and do great things. They're capable of doing it. It's not that they can't learn, they can. And they can do incredible things. They need the supports in order to do that. We've seen through the consultation process a lot of uncertainty and a lot of worry for families. And it's important for everybody to recognize this is not a new struggle for these families. This has been going on for years. It keeps coming up again and again and again. They're constantly under attack of losing these specialized supports. And when we had families who went through the lengthy application process, they've spent the money in order to get the assessments they need for their students, only to be told that we don't want you right now. We're putting enrollment on hold while we decide whether we're going to close your school or not. I think that I don't even know how to verbalize that because I haven't lived it. I think you really have to live it to fully understand what that does to a family. But I think if you had looked out to the faces here in the gallery and up in the public gallery today during question period, we had many children in tears because they don't know what their future holds for them. They don't know if they're going to be able to attend these schools. They don't know if they're going to be there for their siblings. We've heard about siblings who have, I'm going to point out Lexi in the gallery over here, who was brave enough to come forward and tell her story and how she just wants what her brother had. And we've had many students who have come forward and said, I just want the same opportunities for myself, for my brothers and sisters, or for other students, generations to come. And when you put them through this process time and time again, and you tell them we're not taking you right now. We thought maybe we could take you, but now we've changed our mind. We're not going to take you because we're deciding whether or not we're going to close your school. The kids really start to lose hope, and it's really not fair to them. I think you have to look at what the effect is on the students and the families. The minister stood up in question period today and said it's not about money. I don't know what else it could be about. I don't know why on earth you would consider closing any school, frankly, but especially the specialized schools that help these children excel. Why would you close these schools if it wasn't about money? I think that was actually a disgraceful comment to make and very untrue. Most of these families have done this for so long, they know that there was a report that came out and it was all about money, and it said to close the schools. They know that's the direction it's going. I'm hoping that after today, seeing these families and the impact on these families and hearing their stories, and I really hope that they were heard, they were really listened to, that the government, that the minister and the premier, who were both school board trustees themselves, they know the struggles that the district school boards are having. They know what these kids are going through. I hope that they will see the light and reverse course and agree to keep these schools open for future generations, not just for next school year, 2016-2017, but for years to come. Thank you, Speaker.